Production of immense possibilities is made possible by the generous support of the Earth and Humanity Foundation, Wendy Selden, Rogue Co-ops, a community-centered collaboration among the Ashland Food Co-op, the Grange Co-op, Rogue Credit Union, and the Medford Food Co-op, Cliff Bar and Company, Elizabeth York, and these additional members of the Immense Possibilities Community Builders Circle.
The idea that we can't engage in our own community's economy, even though we are clearly stakeholders, it's wrong. It's just wrong.
This is insane. It's an insane system of law.
We're a group of young pioneering engineers, and we're not willing to take no for an answer.
And they're going to change the face of the world by changing who gets to choose the future.
I have to say, I've spent most of my life affiliated with losing causes. This cause is winning, and I could not be more thrilled.
Let us use our money in the ways that we want to makes really good sense.
Welcome to our weekly visit with people who are creating immense possibilities for healthy communities, solutions to all kinds of challenges. What single possibility could do the most to revitalize community economies? Some of our past guests have answered that in the very same way. Lift the restrictions that block small businesses from accepting equity investments and small investors from putting their money where they want. The rationale for restricting the game to so-called accredited investors of significant wealth is that little insignificant folks need protection from bogus investments. Some observers have never quite bought that.
There are 1,000 casinos in North America. And if I walk through a casino door, do they say to me, "Excuse me, Mr. Shuman, but are you an accredited gambler?" No, they never ask that question. All may come in irrespective of your income. And before I sit down at the blackjack table, do they say, we think you should be aware of all the risks of playing blackjack before you actually are dealt your first hand? No. So we have two systems of risk in this country. One system, called gambling, is where everyone can lose everything irrespective of income. And chances are good you will. The other system, called local investment, where we say, sorry, but if you put any money in a local business without paying off a lawyer $50,000 to $100,000 for the disclosure statement, you'll go to jail. This is insane. It's an insane system of law.
And it's a system that's quickly changing, thanks in no small part to the work of our first guest, economist and IP contributor Michael Shuman. Michael's been at the forefront of BALI, Business Alliance for Local Living Economies, and the Post-Carbon Institute, and his books include Local Dollars, Local Cents, and the upcoming Reinventing Economic Development. Michael, welcome back to the program.
Great to be with you.
I've heard you use the term investment apartheid. What do you mean by that?
Well, investment apartheid is how I characterize the securities laws that were passed in this country in the 1930s and 40s and govern what people can and cannot invest in. Basically, those laws said that if you're in the top 1% of wealth in this country, you're allowed to invest in anything, anytime, no questions asked. If you're in the other 99%, you can only invest a penny if a small business or any business has done something like $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 of legal work. Now, that's a very steep price for most small businesses. So consequently, we have very, very few investment opportunities to put our money in small businesses. The consequences on our economy are staggering because it means that we are systematically overinvesting in Fortune 500 companies and underinvesting in local small business. And since we know that local small business is absolutely critical to the creation of jobs, entrepreneurship, great for environmental protection, good for smart growth, good for civil society and political participation, we're giving all of that up by continuing to run our investment system inefficiently.
Well, let me ask you, Michael, you were very involved in the passage of the Federal Jobs Act in 2012, which was supposed to address this. What exactly was its purpose and how is it working out?
The Jobs Act basically allowed anyone to invest as much as $2,000 per person, per company, per year. And we really, we were very excited that this opened up a new, cheaper pathway for small businesses to get capital. That was 2.5 years ago. And here we are at December of 2014, 2 years later, and they have yet to finalize the rules. And so basically the SEC has fallen asleep at the wheel, and the Jobs Act has been totally stalled. And all of these businesses that were organizing themselves around the Jobs Act are being killed on the vine thanks to the SEC's irresponsible inaction. Because the whole purpose of local investing and crowdfunding and the Jobs Act, from my perspective, is cracking open and ending Wall Street's monopoly on capital. But in point of fact, most folks on Wall Street regard us as a, little insect that, some of them find it amusing, some of it find us irrelevant, but they're not the opposition. The opposition, staggeringly, is old-style New Deal Democrats who believe in sort of the nanny state, and the state should stand between investors and small business investing.
And they think they are protecting consumers in the old protocol.
Yes, and granted, the old protocol does have provisions that do protect consumers, but the truth is that now here we are 80 years later, and we know a lot of other ways of protecting consumers that doesn't require basically killing the market. And I think if we can just limit the amount of money that people are able to give, we really don't need a lot of legal oversight. People can just sort of mind their own business, and we can dispense with unnecessary lawyers. We know that when an investor has real-world personal knowledge of the company they are investing in, they tend to make smarter decisions. It's less likely for them to get ensnared in some kind of Enron-like fraud. And local investment, if we just limit it within a state or within a region or within a community, we can definitely bring down the probability of fraud.
Well, give us a long-term vision here, Michael. What is the immense possibility of locally based small denomination investment?
The immense possibility is this. The local investment revolution will result in a $15 trillion shift from Wall Street to Main Street. The next stage is going to be the trading of securities, local stock exchanges, and then the creation of local investment funds, the pooling of securities. So the immense possibility is creating a marketplace with lots of local stock markets, lots of local investment funds, and this will be the end of Wall Street and Fortune 500 companies as we know them.
Are you excited right now, Michael? It's been a pretty long road. Are you hopeful and enthusiastic at this point on the road?
I have never been more hopeful and enthusiastic. This is my 30-something year professionally, and I have to say I've spent most of my life affiliated with losing causes. This cause is winning, and I could not be more thrilled.
Thank you very much for your work. Thanks for checking back to tell us about it on Immense Possibilities. We'll check in with you again soon.
My pleasure.
And then we get to today, where it's about the VCs. A VC is someone who takes money from a lot of people for a very small group of people, usually white men, to invest in the future and decide whether you're ever going to hear of Google or LinkedIn or Facebook or anybody else. And the problem with that is that we basically substituted a bunch of rich white men with capital for a bunch of rich white men with property. So we didn't really democratize wealth because it's still controlled by a small group of people who have your money and they get to make the decisions.
Two people working hard to democratize investment decision-making in Oregon are with me now. They are Amy Pearl, founder of Hatch Innovation in Portland, and Heather Stafford, Executive Director of Sustainable Valley Technology Group in the Rogue Valley. Welcome to you both. It's great to have you here.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Amy, tell us about community public offerings. I know they relate to a recent administrative rule, and you had a lot to do with it. What are we talking about here?
We are talking about the opportunity for average Oregonians, residents of Oregon, to actually begin to invest legally in the businesses that are also grounded in Oregon. So it's a complete game changer for the state, and it's never been legal before.
So what will I be able to do with my small amount investment dollars that I haven't been able to do up until now?
Well, you will be able to loan money or buy a share or two or more in a company, so long as the amount of money doesn't exceed $2,500 per deal. You'll review their offering materials, you might go visit them, and then you will actually invest with an eye to some kind of financial return.
Now, Heather, you work with entrepreneurs and startup businesses in the Rogue Valley through Sustainable Valley. How useful do you think this new tool is going to be to those folks?
For the companies that we work with down here, especially in Southern Oregon and communities all around Oregon like ours, this is a real game changer. There's kind of a black hole of funding for these companies from $5,000 to $250,000, and that's exactly where this window falls in. An entrepreneur can raise up to $250,000 from everyday Oregonians, so that 99% of the latent capital, we would say, is going to be liberated and into the hands working in our communities through entrepreneurs. It will be an incentive for more people to pursue entrepreneurship than they have in the past. It's a very difficult road. If you ask any of the entrepreneurs we work with, this is not monopoly on easy or anything. This is really hard work. So this is going to really empower our advanced manufacturing and some of those industries that Oregon is really, really looking at as the future of our economy.
Is it fair to say that these changes represent a movement towards buyer beware? I'm now responsible more than I was before for my own investing.
Within these rules, there are a lot of what are called investor protections, one of them being the low cap on what an investor can invest. That $2,500 it causes a lot less concern. The other thing is that they must meet in person with a small business development center or a technical service provider. So that process of, oh, it's a real person. Oh, it's probably someone I know already, especially out in rural communities. I think one thing we're talking about, and it's important to kind of get this about what the entrepreneurs are doing, is they're actually able to seek what we're calling compatible capital. So because the entrepreneur drives the deal and sets the terms rather than the bank or an angel, they're much more likely to create a deal, an opportunity for that capital raise that's appropriate for their business. So I'm much more interested in investing in a business that's seeking capital with the right terms and not putting more additional pressure or undue pressure on that business. I think they're more likely to be successful. So some are intentionally creating businesses that will create social and environmental value. Others just want to keep that money in town, and they have no access to capital. And it's absurd. And the idea that we can't engage in our own community's economy, even though we are clearly stakeholders, it's wrong. It's just wrong.
Given all that, what is your sense of how big a part of the overall business capitalization picture this kind of small denomination direct investment could be over time?
Well, we looked at statewide data that just in the state of Oregon as far as what's in savings accounts and retirement accounts. So this is regular everyday people, what's in savings. And if you just took 1% of what that number is just in the state of Oregon, it's $915 million. This is a major opportunity for Oregon. And for those Oregonians who've got their money in these savings accounts and retirement accounts that maybe, if you're very, very lucky, get you 3% or something on your money, now they're able to participate in the risk-taking just like the 1% always has been. Let's put our money out there and see if we can make it grow ourselves.
Heather, what's the immense possibility of this work?
The immense possibility is really liberating the capital from the 99% of the population of our state. Will start there, our country will expand there, and our world, to create a more sustainable planet, to support companies that are inventing things, helping them grow things that solve some of these major changes that we need to make in our economy and our environment, and usher in a new world for the next generation.
Heather Stafford of Sustainable Valley in Southern Oregon, Amy Pearl of Hatch Innovations in Portland. Thank you for the work you're doing. Thanks for telling us about it. We feel like we're some of the first people in on the news because this is a new rule, and it's really going to be interesting to watch where this takes the state economically. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
The Millennial Generation is turning 35, 10,000 people a day. They are not going to have a broker at Merrill Lynch. They're doing everything online. They're investing in private companies. They're starting private companies. Our view is that there's a crowd coming, 80 million millennials that are coming that want to invest in the new economy. And they're going to use the Jobs Act and social media, and they're going to change the face of the world by changing who gets to choose the future.
Well, let's meet someone they just might choose. Eric Wilson is the founder of a business called Grovolution, and Melissa Brandau's emerging company is Rogue Rovers. Welcome to you both. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric, what is Grovolution? What do you do?
Well, Grovolution is a company based in Klamath Falls, and what we do is we create a sustainable agriculture production system. And what that looks like is basically having a freight container retrofitted so that the inside environment is conducive to growing the plant. And the idea here is that we now change the environment inside to suit that plant rather than changing the plant to suit the environment, so that we can create farms that are local to where the consumer uses the goods. For instance, would be working up in, say, Anchorage, Alaska, and growing fresh strawberries all year round, which traditionally can't be done.
Indeed. Melissa, what are you manufacturing at Rogue Rovers?
Rogue Rovers is building a semi-autonomous all-terrain vehicle for specialty farms. We call it the Farm Dog. It's a electric all-terrain vehicle as a platform, and then on top of that we're adding data integration, data collection, and even into autonomy and robotics.
What's been your experience up until now getting funding to start your business up?
It's been somewhat of a challenge. I think I've been relatively careful in terms of the people that I've been talking to, identified investors, because I really like to build the business here and make it a community-based business, not just a venture-funded business.
So there might be venture capital from who knows where available, but they don't have stakes or too much interest in this community.
Right, and there's always the risk that a venture capitalist will want to take over the business, move it away. Part of the reason why I'm here and why I'm raising my kids here is because I am a big believer in contributing to the well-being of this community. And starting a business here isn't easy, but the benefits really outweigh the disadvantages in the long run if we can create jobs, create good jobs, and bring a healthy economic vitality to the area.
Have there been any conventional bank loans available to you?
No, not at all. And bank loans are very difficult to get in this time, as you know.
How about you, Eric? What's been your experience in getting financed?
Well, kind of difficult, actually. We actually have used my student loans to fund most of the project, as we are a
brave man.
Yeah, taking off a big chunk there. But honestly, we believe in our company and we believe in our product, and so we're willing to take the risk. We're a group of young pioneering engineers, and we're not willing to take no for an answer.
So we are talking about a sea change in Oregon, where very small investors, without a lot of red tape, without a lot of official due diligence, without a lot of publications on your part as the business, will probably be able to invest in businesses like yours. When and if that comes to pass, what difference could it make for your business?
Oh, huge difference. It finally puts the ball in our court, allows us to establish rates and return on that investment that is not just conducive to the investor, but also conducive to the way that our business operates. So, for instance, a tech business who has a quick turnover rate and typically has an exit strategy is all common for a lot of investors because they get that return very, very short amount of time.
Not so much for a hard manufacturer.
Correct. When you go into a longer base business like what ours is, where you actually have a manufacturing process, you're having to deliver product to a consumer, and you have a lot of infrastructure, it's very difficult to get the capital funding that you need for your company, and also good terms for that capital funding.
We really like the idea of being able to say, invested in by farmers who are our core customers. That's very exciting for us. It really provides us not just a great customer, a great investor, but that ability to really connect on the marketing level and to be able to produce exactly what the customer is looking for.
As a practical matter, will this work for really small investments? If someone feels they have $100, $200 they'd like to invest.
I think there are a lot of opportunities for businesses for the lower amounts. For instance, if you had a food cart and you wanted to serve the greater area of Ashland and you want to, get set up, and you only need $20,000, small injections of money, $50, $100 at a time, adds up pretty quickly.
I love the idea of being able to go out and meet with potential investors, and I think raising the idea of sort of hand-to-hand, face-to-face relationship building through investment is pretty exciting.
If our viewers take one piece of information away from our conversation today, what would you hope it to be?
I think it's really important for people to realize that in America, for instance, we have freedoms to do what we want. We can go buy a beer, we can go get a lottery ticket, we can go hiking or fishing if we want. So why is it that we can't buy into a company that's local to our community? And I think it's really important to realize that this new change allows that to happen.
Melissa Brandow of Rogue Rovers, Eric Wilson of Grovolution, thanks for coming and telling us about your situation as small, brave entrepreneurs. I tip my hat to your courage. I think they say you're what makes America great. And thanks for coming to see us on Immense Possibilities.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
In our episode 2 years ago on Slow Money, we met Will Wilkinson, founder of what was then called the Southern Oregon Time Bank.
What are the dividends that I'm going to reap? The interest I'll get from investing locally, much more than just money. Seeing friends and neighbors with flourishing businesses, food being grown locally that their children can eat. When it gets down to that and they go, wait a minute, I'm getting much more return on my dollar investing locally than I ever did in those big banks.
With me now is the director of the renamed Southern Oregon Time Cooperative, Will Wilkinson. Will, hello and welcome.
Good to be back, Jeff.
Remind us of what the Southern Oregon Time Cooperative is.
Members join for free. They exchange for free, not in dollars, of course, but in hours. So you do something for me, I pay you in hours, you spend your hours any way you want, get your computer fixed, get your house cleaned, get your hair cut, anything you need. I think that in the near future, we'll see a substantial part of our economy, everyday things that people need that they're paying money for now, like haircuts, being done through our exchanges.
What's your growth been in the last couple of years?
Well, we started about 4.5 years ago with 0, went to 2, and now we're over 400 members.
Now, do people actively use it? I'm wondering if there's a hump to get over up front to use this for the first time. It's not our habit to do this. It's our habit to pull out our wallet and spend money.
It's a tough habit to break, to just reach in the wallet for the credit card. But one of the things that I enjoy the most is the kind of the light in the eyes of our members when they get it. And they go, wait a minute, I can shop and I can buy all these services without spending a cent. There's a breakthrough, kind of a realization that happens, and then they go shopping.
What about the perception that this is sort of fringe stuff? You know, I can get a palm reading, I can get a body massage. I like massages, I'm not bad-mouthing them. But that this isn't true economic commerce. This isn't a real hard-nosed economic network. It's always going to be on the fringe.
Well, you've started things. You start with what you can get. And initially, There's things like massages, et cetera, and I love massages too, but increasingly we have more professional services. There's a time exchange in Portland, Maine, where over 30% of their exchanges are with medical doctors. I think that's pretty mainstream. So it takes time to get there, but we're on our way.
What keeps you excited and energized to do this work? You're organizing this thing, putting a lot of time in. Why?
Well, it's totally fulfilling. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I wonder what's possible. My phone rings, I get an email, and there are people who are saying, thank you. You know, I hurt my back last week, I can't mow the lawn, I can't clean the house. Because of the time exchange, I can do that. I have people telling me that their lives would not go on the way they do without the time exchange. That's pretty compelling.
Will Wilkinson, founder and director of the Southern Oregon Time Cooperative, thanks for what you're doing. Thanks for joining us again on Immense Possibilities.
My pleasure, and likewise, Jeff.
And that's it for this edition of Immense Possibilities. You can find more information and a place to give us your suggestions at immensepossibilities.org. We welcome you to find our Facebook page and like and share us there. I'm Jeff Golden. Thanks for watching this edition, and until next time, please do what you can do. Thanks for watching to learn about tonight's immense possibility. You can watch any of our past programs anytime at immensepossibilities.org.
The SOU House experience is really an opportunity for students to get out of the classroom and engage the community in solving real-world problems.
Houses are about a spirit of adventure. Maybe that's rafting or building a house, but it's also about the adventure of figuring out what comes next.
Get involved, make a difference in the world.
Get connected, join a house.